Hi, folks. This is your host Mandeep. It is Thursday, April the 30th, and in this video, I'm going to talk about a new upgrade that I've developed, which is the Ultimate Trading Strategy Day Plus Swing Trade version 9.0. I know many of the folks on this channel, come for tutorials that I've been doing in the past. So if you're strictly looking for a tutorial, you may want to skip this version because I'm just going to be talking about an upgrade to a product. However, if you want to learn more about how the Ultimate Trading Strategy works and what kind of performance results you get, I would highly encourage you to stick around and take a look at what are some of the improvements that I've made to the system. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, one of the first things I want to do is, both for existing customers and for new ones, I want to point out what the difference is between the old version and the new version, right? And also highlight whether you're eligible for the free upgrade or not. And if you're not eligible for the free upgrade, what is the path and what is the fee to upgrade to the latest and the greatest version of the Ultimate Trading Strategy? As most of you know, and who've been with me for about a year and a half, 2 years, uh, I developed the Ultimate Trading Strategy, which was strictly predicated for swing trading, and I went through a series of revisions, and the most current revision is version 6, which many of you have, right? So that is applicable only for swing trading. Then about 3 months ago, I built what was called the UTS Day Trade plus Swing Trade option, and I started with the version 8 on that. Right now, if you have this version, and when you go into the gear, you have the option of selecting a swing trade versus the day trade, and when you select the day trade option, then in essence, it's going to close the trade at the end of the day, no matter what, win, lose, or draw. It's going to close the trade, thereby assuming no overnight risk. Now, now, if in this particular version, if you're on version 8 and if you select the swing trade option, then the functionality is quite similar to the UTS swing trade version 6, right? The buy is very, very similar. The close in version 8 is better optimized, and clearly it works much better, obviously, for just day trading purposes. Now, what I've now done is I've actually created an upgrade for the UTS day trade plus swing trade option, which is the version 9, which is what I'm going to talk about in this tutorial. I'll show you a little bit about how it compares to version 8, and in a way how it compares to version 6 as well. So the people that have bought the product in the last 3 months and paid the full price of $12.99 are automatically eligible for the upgrade. And then there's a number of folks who were on version 6 that paid the upgrade fee for $2.99 and upgraded to version 8. They will also get this upgrade at no charge, and I know the list of those people, and I'll send it to them. Now, as I said, the easiest way to determine if you're in version 8 is by just going into the gear and seeing if you have both the swing trade and the day trade option, then you're automatically eligible. Now, if you're still in version 6 and want to upgrade, the upgrade cost is $2.99, and this is basically cost of my development and testing that has taken me last 3 months to build this new version. Clearly, there is no obligation to upgrade, right? If version 6 works fine for you, then please feel free to continue using this. Now, as far as upgrades to version 6 are concerned, that product is relatively stable. I haven't made a whole lot of changes, and I envision I'll mostly do bug fixes on that going forward. And most of the new development will now continue on UTS day trade plus the swing trade version that I have. So with the most current release, everybody will get upgraded to version 9. So, what are some of the new changes that I've introduced in version 9 for the day trade plus the swing trade? And so the first thing it includes is a significantly better buy sell signal. right? So, and I'll show you some comparisons with the previous versions. The buy signal is highly optimized now, along with the sell signal. And in most cases, if you compare it, about 80% of the cases or 90% of the cases, when you compare with the previous version, you will see a much higher profit on your trade. The second thing I've added is the ability to quickly analyze the trade. So, as most of you know, in version 6, I added the capability of generating a report. You could right click on the up arrow or the down arrow in the trade, and you can see a profit loss report. But you needed to go through the report manually to see how many wins did you have and how many losses did you have, what was the average win, average loss. Now all the statistic is now available upfront on the main screen. So for example, and I'll show you a lot of the details when I go into the live example, you'll be able to see how many total trades are there, how many wins did you have, how many losses were there. And this is obviously predicated on back testing the system, which you can back test on any time frame on any length of time. So you can test it on 15 minutes, 30 days. You could test it on an hour going back 90 days, or you can test it on the daily chart going back however many years it allows you to do so. And I'll talk about a number of other statistics that are discussed in the video. And obviously, there's a number of stats that show up on the main screen, so it does take up a fair bit of real estate. So I have provided an option for users to upgrade or for users to enable or disable this particular option. So what we'll do is we'll jump into the screen right now, and I'll talk a little bit about the setup that I currently have. Let me click on this, right? So this is the new version. So those of you who are eligible for the upgrade will get this new version. Now, if you click on the gear icon, one of the things you will notice is that I have eliminated the option which I initially had, which enabled you to choose aggressive mode or a conservative mode. All of that is actually now merged into one. So this is one optimized way of entering the trade and exiting the trade. So you don't need to go and look at stats for which one is better. Is conservative better or aggressive is better? Now the mode that you have is highly optimized. Now, obviously, it gives you the option of day trade or swing trade. So you can select that option from here. For now, I've selected no on the day trade option, and you can default to the number of shares that you trade, because for generating the statistics we need to compute what is your original share count based on. And finally, there's a way to enable or disable the stats, right? So for now I've enabled the stats, but I would recommend that you disable the stats for during a day trading day, because obviously loading so many different labels takes a lot of computing cycle as well. So this is the new version. Now what we're going to do is we're going to compare it with the older version, and what we're doing is we're comparing with UTS 8 that we had. Okay, so UTS 8 which is both for swing trade and day trade, had this option of aggressive versus conservative, right? And it also had the option of day trade versus no day trade, right? So now if you choose the aggressive mode without the day trading option, in essence this is very similar to version 6 that some of you have, which is the original product that we built. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of this, and what you can see here is a number of statistics, right? So the first thing you can see is what is the total amount of trades this system took, and right now we're looking at 15 minutes and 30 days, right? So a little over a month. And so in this case the system took 28 trades, out of which 22 were wins and there were 6 losses, right? Now in many cases you will see that the ratio is very similar. It could be even 1-to-1, right? But you need to look at other stats to see if overall were you profitable or not, right? So in this case, of course, you can see the win rate is 3.66, the win-loss ratio is 78%, which is pretty good. And this is telling you what was the highest return during this last 1 month of trading. So the best thing the system returned was 9 grand for a trade, and this is predicated on 100 shares. And the worst loss that you had was 2,200. Now, this is your average return, right? Once you've entered a trade, whether you win or lose, this is your average return, right? If you take your average return and you multiply by the total number of trades, 28, that'll give you this total profit that we have, right? So the thing that you probably want to pay more attention is what is the average win. So in this case, when you have 22 wins, each average or the average win for these trades was 2 grand, right? So that's what you win on an average, and your average losses half of that, so you lose about 1 grand in trades that you lose. Now this is the average. Clearly there'll be some more and some less, and now if you're tracking or logging this from the beginning of those 30 days, so this is telling you that at no point in time were you negative, right? And the maximum profit that you had was 43, and the current profit that you have is 42,865. This is trading Amazon on 15-minute 30 days. Now we're going to do the comparison with the older version, right? And as I said, when you take UTS 8 day trade plus swing and just use the swing trade option, that's equivalent to version 6 that many of you are currently on. Okay, so now in this case, you can see that it had a total of 16 trades, and you had 7 wins and 9 losses, which is you can see in the new version, it's a significant improvement here, right? And without going into all the other stats, we can see the average, or not the average, but the total profit for 15-minute 30 days was 20 grand and was 42,000 here. So almost 2x the profit. So that's the kind of improvement that I see. But clearly it's not across the board. But I have looked at hundreds of stocks in the S&P 500 list and low cap, and even some of the low cap stocks. And in general, I've seen that profit loss ratio is almost like 2x, 3x in the newer version, right? So we'll go through a couple more examples, and we'll look at profit loss reports for some other stats as well. Now in this case, you can see that this actually wasn't very profitable, right? On the 15-minute doesn't mean this wasn't profitable at all on other time frames. If you took this trade, you wouldn't be taking this, because on the 15-minute you wouldn't trade Google because it had a negative profit. But here you can see that from negative 19 you're now at 14, right? Well, for example, you could go to a different time frame on the older version, right? And hopefully you just need to figure out which was the best optimized time frame. And you can see in this case you had a profit of 11,000. So it's not like that this one didn't produce positive results. You just had to find what the right time frame was. Now let's just stick to 15-minute for now, because otherwise this video will actually be hours long, and we'll start we'll just go through a series of stocks, and then we can always look at some random stocks as well, right? So in this case, you can see the day trade profit is 35 grand versus the old one, which was 923. Let's look at Boeing. And so in this case, we did close to six grand, while this was about 1,000. So almost like a 5x profit. We can look at some more stocks, and these are the stocks that a lot of people like to trade, but the end result is not very dissimilar if you look at other random stocks as well. So in this case, you did 7,900 versus 9,200. So this is not very different, of course, a little bit better, but now this is another example where on the 15-minute, Facebook wasn't profitable in the old version. You had a loss of $695. Well, here you have a gain of $1,000. So let's look at Shop. So Shop had in the most current version, you're doing 25 trades with 17 wins and 8 losses. And in this case, it was 1-to-1, right? So for, on an average, you won 1 and lost 1. But the average win, irrespective, in this case was 2,500, while the average loss was 125. So even though the win and the loss ratio is 1, your actual profit still ended up being 12,000, while in this case, the profit has increased significantly, by about 8,000. All of these are based on 100 shares, as I mentioned before, and you can adjust that to the number of shares you normally end up trading. Okay. Now let's take a look at Netflix. Same story, right? So you had a loss of like 150 on this one. So you wouldn't trade on the 15-minute, but this one has a profit of 32.79. Again, moving this to a different time frame would find you, what is the optimal time frame that you would trade this if you, still stayed with the old version. Let's look at Apple. And I had a profit of 3,000 in this scenario, and we have a profit of 5,000. So it's improved by 2 grand, right? And we can go on and on, but we'll take a look at one or two other examples, and that should give you a feel of what the changes are, right, and where the buy is coming. The buy is clearly coming a little bit earlier in this scenario. I'm also going to get rid of this, and we can also look at some day trading options on this. So Vive now did a profit of 1,500 in the old version, and it's 4,700 here. Let's take a look at Booking, which I think it's a good example, if I recall correctly. So in this case, you made about 5,000 in profit, and here you made 37,000. So it's almost like 7x more profit, right? So hopefully this gives you a little sense of how dramatically the profit loss is now changed, because there's a lot of new code that has been added in the new version, right? And I've gone through a lot of testing, a lot of optimizations to make it better. Now let's just for now we'll just stick to just the new version, right? So the new version, one of the things we could also do is let's just see if we can we'll switch back to if you were strictly day trading. So day trading, no versus yes, right? So we can day trade, apply, okay, and you can go to like other time frames as well. So let's just look at the 5-minute chart and see how well has this system done, because in general what I have seen, and we can even go to a smaller time frame, right? Instead of 20 days, let's just go to 5 days. So basically we're looking at weeks worth of data now, right? That's pretty much it, right? And let's see what the stats look like on Amazon. And this is again strictly day trading, right? So in day trade, you're always going to it's always going to close the trade at the end of the day, right? So now in this case, you can see the profit. If you day traded this, it was, let's take a look at the report as well. So it should, match up, right? So last couple of days, and I've cited a couple of these examples, right? Trade, last 4 or 5 trades, you had a profit of 715, 755, 415, 1100, 2,000, and then a loss of 540, right? So just like day trading for the last 4 or 5 days, you generated a profit of again, now in this case, interestingly, you see that there were like 7 wins and 7 losses, right? So for every 1 win there was 1 loss, but the average win was 1,352 and an average loss was 600. So it was about half. That's why you end up making the profit of 5,000 on the trade. So one of the things, again, this is giving you complete control. So this is something that I wouldn't trade, right, on the 5-minute chart, because for the 5 minutes it's not profit. For the week it's not profitable. But I could, for example, maybe look at a bigger time frame and see how it worked out. So we can look at maybe instead of 5 days, let's look at a month overall, right, and see if the stats have changed. And if they do, then that's what you would traded for, right? Or if 15 is not working, as you can see in this case, if you took the average for a month, you made 8 grand. So there were this was also very even. You had 27 wins and 27 losses, right? But for every win you made 710, and for every loss you had 319. And we can keep going through this, right? Or we can go back to 10 or 15 and look at a few other examples, right? Let's look at Tesla. If you were strictly day trading it, so the advantage clearly of day trading is that you're not assuming any overnight risk and all trades are closed at the end of the day, and it's especially useful around the times of earnings, when you don't know how the stock is actually going to react to the earnings. Sometimes the earnings are fantastic, but the guidance is poor, and in many cases it's just impossible to trade it, because just the one that you happen to be in, you'll get it wrong, right? And so there's a profit of 13,000, and this thing, we can keep going through this, right? We can look at I'll look at a few other random examples as well, so you get a sense of what the difference is between the old system and the new system. But one of the things that I'm doing, I'm showing you up front that there's still the scenario of 1 to 1, one win and to one loss, right? So, but same thing, you're still making money at the end of the month, right? This is 15 days and 30 minutes, right? So again, we can also look at this is the Russell 3000 list, and we can look at a couple examples here, the AXSM, and see how some of these other stocks, which a lot of people don't trade, end up performing, right? Again, my experience with this has been that you get like much better results overall in terms of the profit. And once in a while, when I'm recording, the system becomes a little bit slow, so it takes a little bit time to load the stats. So this is you had 937 profit. Let's look at Best Buy, and I'll stop there. So you had a profit of 495, and again in this case, you had like a little bit more loss as well, right? You had, more losses, but your average loss was just $77, while your average win for every 100 shares that you trade was 133. That's why net you end up on the positive side. So hopefully this gives you a sense of how this system is trading. So as I mentioned, if you are eligible for an upgrade, then I'll automatically send you the upgrade. But for people who are still in version 6 and would like to upgrade, they can send me an email, and I'll send them a coupon so they can upgrade to the latest greatest version as well. So have a wonderful day, and trade well, and I will talk to you guys soon, and see you in my next video. Bye bye.